Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're focusing on one of the most exciting, almost futuristic trends to hit the water, eFoils.
Right.
You've seen them. These are the motorized surfboards that use a hydrofoil wing to lift the board up so the rider is basically flying silently over the surface.
It's an incredible visual.
It really is. And today we've gathered a lot of research, and we're going to get into everything from the performance specs to what it actually feels like to ride one.
And crucially, the practical side of things.
Yes, the gritty, real-world practicalities of owning one, especially when it comes to range and power, which, as we found, is a lot more complex than the ads make it seem.
That's right. Our mission today is really to cut through the marketing. An eFoil is a self-propelled surfboard, but it uses that unique foil tech to mimic flight.
And they're sold as this quiet, sustainable alternative to, say, a jet ski.
Exactly. So to really figure out if they're worth that, that significant investment, we need to understand the feeling, the speed, and what kind of infrastructure you actually need to run one.
Okay, let's unpack that. The visual is amazing, but when you see someone gliding by, how fast are they actually going? What do the sources say is the average speed?
Well, the sweet spot, where most riders find it sporty, but still controllable, is between 20 and 30 kilometers per hour. That's your typical cruising speed once you're up and flying.
No, 30 kilometers per hour doesn't sound crazy fast if you're thinking about a car.
Right.
But our source material says the feeling is just completely different on an eFoil. Why does it feel so much faster on the water?
It's a fascinating question, and it's all about context. I mean, you're not in a boat. You're hovering just inches above the water.
Right, you're exposed.
Totally exposed. You're basically eliminating all the drag and the spray that usually dampens your sense of speed. And because you're so close to that surface rushing by, the visual reference is just intensely amplified.
Okay, that makes sense.
So that common cruising speed, say around 25 kilometers per hour, it feels seriously fast. It feels exhilarating.
So it's about proximity, not just the number on a speedometer. But what about the adrenaline seekers? What's the upper limit?
Oh, absolutely. They can get moving.
Can they compete with more traditional water sports?
Yeah, the premium models can hit speeds of over 50 kilometers per hour.
Wow.
Which puts eFoils firmly among the fastest electric water sport devices you can legally use for private recreation. That's where the engineering really comes through.
And the sources are very clear that it's not just the battery or the motor dictating that speed. The wing is the key, isn't it?
That's exactly right. The hydrofoil wing, its size and its profile, it fundamentally defines the entire experience.
So a beginner would use a different wing than an expert.
Completely. As a beginner, you start with these big, stable wings. They're designed to get you up easily, and they'll limit your speed to that 20 to 30 kilometer per hour range.
And then you progress.
Then you move up. You go to a standard wing, you might hit 25 to 40. But to get to that top end, that 40 to 55 range, you need a highly technical race wing. And the sources really stress this. You need a lot of experience and really good balance to handle those.
And beyond the hardware, what other factors are at play? What determines how fast, or maybe more importantly, how far you go?
Oh, everything comes into play. Rider weight is a big one. Lighter riders get better speed and range.
Of course.
And water conditions are huge. Smooth water, what riders call glass, is just ideal for speed and efficiency.
And then there's the software, the modes.
Exactly. The rider can choose their mode, what the sources call far modi or drive modes. You can switch between, say, a range-maximizing eco mode and a speed-focused sport mode. And that choice makes a massive difference.
So let's put that performance, that 25 to 50 kilometer per hour range, into the bigger picture of water sports. Where does the eFoil fit in?
It's a really interesting niche. They completely dominate the slow speed stuff, of course.
Right, so faster than a paddleboard or a kayak.
Oh, much faster. I mean, a SUP board might hit 8 kilometers an hour, a kayak maybe 10. You're in a different league. Where it gets interesting is comparing them to tow sports.
So things like wakeboarding.
Precisely. An eFoil is right there with a wakeboard, which runs at about 25 to 40 kilometers per hour. Same for a high-performance windsurfer. It's even faster than traditional wave surfing.
But they can't touch the real speed demons, right? The things with big engines.
No, and that's the trade-off. They don't compete with the raw power of a jet ski that can hit 120 or kiteboarder in high winds. But the eFoil has this huge advantage in other areas. It's got all of that fun potential, but it's emissions-free, it's quiet, and this is critical. It creates no wave wash.
That no wave wash point is huge. I mean, for environmental reasons, but also for access. You can take these in places where a noisy high-wake boat would be banned.
Exactly. But with riders pushing 50 kilometers per hour, safety becomes a really big deal.
So what are the non-negotiables?
The sources are unanimous. A protective helmet and a swim vest are mandatory.
Always.
And for beginners. The advice is strict. Stay under 30 kilometers per hour until you feel you have total control. And beyond your own gear, it's about awareness. You have to stay clear of swimmers, clear of other boats.
And they have kill switches, right?
Yes, every modern eFoil has an automatic motor shutoff. If you fall, the connection to the controller is broken and the power is instantly killed. It's an essential feature.
Okay, let's shift gears from specs to the actual experience. These things are expensive, thousands of dollars. So the big question is, does the novelty of flying wear off?
It's a legitimate concern, but the answer from long-term riders is a resounding no.
Really?
Really, that core fascination of just silently soaring over the water doesn't seem to fade. The feeling is often described as being in a state somewhere between what the sources call roux, which is like a deep, calm, and pure adrenaline.
That's a powerful mix. But how do you keep it from getting routine? The sources point to a couple of key reasons.
Right. The first one is the potential for technical customization. You're always tweaking the setup.
By swapping out parts.
Exactly. You swap out wings, boards, batteries, controllers. You can completely change the character of the ride, taking it from a slow, stable cruiser to a radical machine for sharp turns and tricks.
So the board evolves with your skill. What's the other big factor?
The environment itself. The variability. You never ride the same session twice. Every ride is unique. It depends on the wind, the current, the light. A quiet sunset glide on glass feels totally different than a choppy morning session. It keeps you engaged. The sources even compare it to motorcycle riding.
How so?
It's that same blend of technique, freedom, and speed. The enjoyment doesn't stop once you're good at it. You just seek out new challenges, new places to ride.
And you mentioned the author of one source has been riding several times a week for 7 years.
7 years, yeah.
Which sounds like a huge endorsement. But let me play the skeptic for a second. With that 5-figure price tag for a good setup, plus the eventual cost of replacing those big batteries, is that long-term appeal real, or is it just something sustainable for people with a lot of disposable income?
That's a very fair question. The cost barrier is real, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But the evidence suggests that if you're someone who is truly captivated by that unique feeling, the investment holds its value over time.
It's not just a fad for them.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It becomes this long-term activity that successfully combines movement, tech, and nature. You're always finding a new challenge.
And for the really action-oriented riders, it seems like the skill ceiling is incredibly high. What are these trick communities doing?
As riders get better, they move to those faster wings and smaller boards, and they get into highly technical riding. We're talking jumps, 180s, 360s, and lengths. Yes, the sources confirm riders are now landing full backflips.
A backflip on an eFoil, that's incredible.
The sport is just constantly pushing the boundaries.
Okay, let's turn to the practicalities. This is where the dream of owning one can sometimes run into reality. Let's talk range and power.
Right.
What's a typical battery life?
You're looking at a range. It's between 60 minutes if you're riding hard, and maybe 120 minutes if you're in eco mode.
So 2 hours is achievable.
A realistic 2-hour ride means keeping it at that relaxed, efficient speed, around 20 to 25 kilometers per hour. If you just go full throttle the whole time, you'll drain it in under an hour.
So if you're on a boat trip or an RV adventure and want to ride multiple times a day, you have a huge logistical problem. Charging at home is easy, but what about when you're off-grid?
And that's the crunch point. These batteries need a massive amount of power to charge quickly. Your standard slow charger might draw 350 to 800 watts.
It's just slow.
Incredibly slow. A large flightboard battery, for example, can take 9 hours to charge with its standard unit.
9 hours. Okay, that's useless for a multi-session day, so people buy the quick chargers.
Right, but that's where the power draw problem comes in. Quick chargers from brands like eFoils or liftoff can do it in about 2 hours, but they need a sustained input of 1,200 to 3,000 watts.
That is a lot of power.
A huge amount.
Which leads to the obvious question, can I just plug it into my car?
And this is where the physics trips up most new owners. A standard 12-volt car battery, even with a powerful inverter, can only safely deliver about 396 watts.
Not even close.
Nowhere near the 1,200 plus watts you need. You'll get charged incredibly slowly, completely drain your car's starter battery, or worse, you could damage your car's electrical system.
So, remote fast charging requires its own dedicated infrastructure. What are the real solutions for people on boats or in RVs?
Well, the solutions are heavy, both literally and financially. The first one is a boat generator. If you have a big yacht, it might have a built-in diesel generator that can handle the load, but those start at around 5,000 euros.
Okay, so that's out for most people. What about smaller setups?
Then you're looking at mobile generators, portable gas or diesel units. A 5,000-watt model, which you might need for multiple batteries, can weigh 100 kilograms.
100 kilos.
It's staggering. A more manageable 2,000-watt model still weighs about 25 kilos and costs between 500 and 2,000 euros.
So you're hauling a 25-kilo machine just to charge your water toy. The sources mention the Honda EU22i as a popular choice.
Yes, the Honda is popular because it hits that balance. It delivers 2,200 watts max, which is enough for most fast chargers, but it only weighs 21 kilograms.
And it costs about 1,500 euros.
Exactly. It's almost a mandatory purchase if you're serious about using quick chargers away from home.
And what about those big mobile power stations, the giant lithium power banks? Why are they not a good solution?
They just fail the power density and cost test. They're extremely expensive for the capacity you get. The author's conclusion is pretty clear. If you're going to spend that much money on mobile power, you are far better off just buying a second eFoil battery.
Just double your ride time from the start.
Exactly. Skip the charging hassle mid-trip.
All right, moving on from power, let's talk about the ecosystem. The sources call it eFoil Zubehör accessories, things for tuning, safety, transport.
Right, and customization is a huge part of what keeps the sport interesting. A lot of that tuning happens with small, pretty inexpensive parts.
Like what?
For Flightboard, for instance, users swear by negative shims. They're tiny little wedges that change the angle of the stabilizer wing.
And that does what?
It lets lighter riders, or anyone riding aggressively, shift the pressure point back. It dramatically improves high-speed cornering.
Interesting. And you can change bigger parts, too.
Oh yeah, you can swap out the fuselage, which is the part connecting the mast to the wing. A shorter one makes the board more agile for tricks. A longer one adds stability for cruising.
And you can even mix and match brands.
With an adapter, yes. There's an Axis wing adapter that lets you experiment with wings from totally different companies on your board.
So beyond performance, what about just moving this big, expensive thing around?
Transport is a major headache. The whole kit is heavy. So one of the top-selling accessories is actually the eFoil cart.
A bag with wheels.
Basically, yeah. A rugged board bag with wheels to help you get it from your car to the water. And for storage, fireproof battery boxes are becoming crucial, especially for transport in a vehicle or boat.
And for rider safety on the water, we mentioned the helmet and vest. Anything else specific to eFoiling?
Yes, there's specialty gear for the unique risks. Some eFoil helmets have extended protection down the sides to guard your cheeks and jaw from hitting the board or the wing in a bad fall.
Ouch.
Yeah. And leash systems are essential, but the sources have a big warning. Never attach the leash to your hand strap. The resistance from the foil is so immense it could cause a serious injury. You need dedicated leash attachments.
Good to know. And before we wrap on accessories, a quick note on pricing. European buyers often see higher prices than in the U.S. Why is that?
The sources clarified that. The prices you see in Europe, say in Germany, already include a 19% of VAT, plus all the transport, import duties, and customs fees.
It's all baked in.
Right, whereas U.S. prices are usually advertised as the net price before any of that is added, so they look cheaper at first glance.
Well, we have had a true deep dive today. We've covered the thrill of hitting 50 kilometers per hour, the fact that this passion can actually last for years, but we've also really laid bare the complex reality of owning one, especially that challenge of charging these massive batteries when you're on the move.
I think the key takeaway is that the eFoil offers performance that's comparable to a lot of high-end water sports, but the feeling, that silent, sustainable sense of flight, is totally unique.
And it's not all about speed.
Not at all. The real joy, what sustains people long-term, seems to be mastering those relaxed, the source called casual turns at medium speeds. It's a very different focus from the flat-out velocity of something like jetboarding.
Which leaves us, and you, with a final thought to chew on. The eFoil delivers this incredible, unique sensation of freedom on the water. But to achieve that freedom away from home, you might need to buy and haul around heavy, dedicated infrastructure, like a generator that costs over 1,000 euros and weighs 21 kilograms. So does that unique feeling of flying justify the significant cost and complex logistics of its own support system? Or is this simply the required price of admission for the future of high-performance, sustainable water sports? We'll leave that with you.